Welcome into week 3, folks. It is a glorious day. Ryan, joined as always. How's it going, Ryan?
Going pretty good, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's been a pretty crazy weekend, that's for sure. I don't
Yeah.
know. You know, it's a lot to process. I think the big thing with Mike Tagliere there, it's pretty sad, terrible news, and it's kind of been a big hit. I feel like to a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially in the fantasy industry. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't personally ever really had much of an interaction with him, but I mean, he affected my life more than he probably ever would know. So I think it's just a lot, and I don't know, hard to say much. I definitely know that there's a GoFundMe out there if you guys can. Anybody who's listening, if you have any time or any capabilities of donating, I think it's definitely something that is a good cause. I definitely tossed some in there just because I feel like I said, he affected my life more than he could ever imagine. So,
Right. Yeah, and I second that. I mean, I threw a little bit in there. I know me and Alex we're talking about getting a kind of like a benefit league going with all the proceeds going towards the GoFundMe, going towards his family. I know the FF League winners are starting a league as well. That's probably going to be tournament style based. Uh, they're going towards that. So, and I'm sure there's multiple uh, companies and things like that doing something similar. And I feel like it's just the least that we can do for somebody that was so influential in the space. I mean, I know he was one of the very first people that I heard on a podcast and somebody that I read a lot of information up on, read a lot of his content. So uh, I was honestly shocked and extremely sad to hear about that last night when I heard about it late. I actually didn't even see it until later on in the day, but uh, definitely a big loss. And obviously our thoughts are with their family and all the fantasy pros as well.
yeah, it's tough, Yeah, I don't know. I think that's well said. And definitely, like you said, I know you were talking to Alex that we'll probably have something going on
Yeah.
as far as yards per goes, hopefully dropping something this week to kind of get a half of a season in or something on like a best ball or something like that and donate what we can to Mike's family.
Yeah.
But on to the week 3. This week we definitely have a special kind of edition. We're going to be joined by Austin Williams, who is another yards per member. As far as getting some injury reports, that's going to come up around 10 a.m. once he hops on, go over some of that stuff. And as always, we're here to answer any questions if you guys do go live. If not, we are going to obviously just kind of go over some starts and sits this week. It's going to be a crazy week. A lot of big injuries this week. We're waiting on some game time decisions. So kind of looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Ryan.
Just saw Delvin Cook's unlikely to play. There was another one. DeAndre Hopkins is expected to play, and there was one other guy that I saw that was important. Oh, Daryl Henderson is out. He's not playing this week, so uh, make sure you adjust your lineups accordingly. I'm sure Austin's going to talk about that as well. But if you're already tuning in, I would go and adjust your lineups accordingly if you need to, with Delvin Cook and Daryl Henderson being out.
Yeah, I mean, Cook is definitely interesting. It's one I'm monitoring. I have a lot of Delvin, well, not a lot, but I got a couple Delvin Cook shares. I definitely have him kind of backed up with a couple things. But leading on to that, why don't we just talk about Alexander Madison real quick? Are you in on Madison if Cook's out, or do you need like more? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, are you in on Alexander Madison if he plays? Like, if Cook doesn't play, or even if Cook plays, like, are you in on Madison against Seattle today?
I mean, I feel like you kind of have to be in at least a little bit because Seattle's given up the most rushing most fantasy points to running backs so far this year. So I feel like that's how they're going to try to attack that defense. But he's also never really gotten like that full workload anytime he's ever been injured. I feel like they go to the pass more. They go to 2 tight end sets more. They never have really trusted him to get involved. And I don't even know who else they have behind him currently at the moment. Do you know who's behind? Who would be like next in line behind Madison? I know that rookie there got placed on IR, I believe.
Yeah, I believe it's going to be Abdullah. I believe Amir Abdullah, who they pulled up earlier. They could pull him up yesterday or the day before.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why exactly they don't use him as often, but I mean he's probably flex viable, giving the matchup and everything like that, and how that offense runs. But I would expect more from the passing game this week as opposed to what we probably would have saw if Delvin would have been healthy.
So are you in on, say you're looking at a flex play, are you in on KJ Osborne or Alexander Madison?
So I usually go running back in my flex, but spoiler alert, KJ Osborne is one of my sleepers for the week. So I feel like I'd probably go with Osborne, to be honest with you.
Interesting. See, I feel like I like Madison. I think I'm going to probably start him in a couple of leagues today. I like the matchup, like you said, against Seattle. And I just feel like he's a sneaky play. I mean, it's going to be tough because he's definitely had options where he kind of just busts. So, AKA last year when they played Atlanta and everybody was in on that and he kind of just, however, last year he did play against Seattle too, and he had a really big game. So I don't know. I'm in on Madison, I think, but it depends on who he's starting over. You know what I'm saying?
When he's seen like a workhorse style of run, he's been worth it in your lineups. Anytime he's more than 15 touches, he's gotten either 100 yards or a touchdown. So I mean, he's been viable. It's just they don't see it. He just doesn't see that workload very often. But when he does, he's very viable. So just take that for what it's worth.
Nice. One other question I got for you, quick. I don't know if this is going to lead into anything, but with the Carson Wentz news that he's playing, are you in on Michael Pittman? Sorry if he's one of your things. He might be one of mine, but
he becomes a lot more interesting than he would have been without Carson Wentz. That's for sure. Like it doesn't hurt him any, and the Titans secondary has been just brutal. I think they're allowing like the second most points to wide receivers so far this year, if I remember correctly. No, they're actually the most by 9 points per game, or total. So, yeah, if he's healthy, the only issue that you might run into is that if Carson Wentz were to go down, that plummets his ceiling dramatically. But if Carson Wentz gets to the full game, then yeah, I like Michael Pittman.
All righty. So I'll ask you then my own start sit question live on the show because I have one. Okay. So say, hypothetically, you had a roster that hypothetically had Michael Pittman on it. Would you start him if you're starting Ridley, Mike Williams, Stephon Diggs? Would you start Pittman over Madison instead of Delvin Cook?
Ooh.
So you're going Madison or Pittman? Because we're anticipating Cook to be out.
Think I go. I think I like Pittman there. Is it PPR?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I like Pittman there. Just because of the matchup, but even though the matchup with Seattle is really good too, I just don't know if they're gonna with the receivers that they have in Minnesota. I'm not sure if they in the game script that's supposed to be there. I mean, they got the highest over-under of the week at 55.5. So, I mean, it seems like there's going to be a lot of throwing involved in that game. And Seattle's offense has proven to be pretty explosive. So they might have to throw the ball a lot more than they probably want to, but they also might decide to run Madison and try to keep that offense off the field. I think I'm going to go with Pittman there, just because he looked really good last week. I mean, he really did. He looked good. So I'm going to go with Pittman there, but that's close for me.
Andrew has a question. He says, should he start Madison as his RB2? I guess the question would be is who is he going up against, or like who's your other options? But I like Madison this week. I guess, like I said, Andrew, it depends on who it is. The matchup is set to be pretty good. Seattle's been pretty terrible against running backs.
Yep.
I'm in on it. I even argued, not really argued, but I did make a point on Madison over Gibson this week. I am probably one of those crazy people that people on Twitter have been making fun of that said don't start Antonio Gibson this week. I just don't like Gibson against Buffalo. Buffalo's been very good against the run. So his other choices are, sorry, not to interrupt my thought, but Trey Sermon and Myles Gaskin. It's full PPR, so honestly, all three have a really good matchup. What time is the San Fran game? That's a 4:00 game too, right? I'm probably sitting Myles Gaskin.
No, San Francisco plays tonight.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's 8:00 game. This is how I'd play it. I'd wait and see the inactives. I'd sit Gaskin. I'm not sold on him in this game, especially with Jacoby Brissett. I think that Vegas kind of has their way with Miami today. And I would probably play it as a sit and wait game, Andrew. I'd see if Cook is completely inactive, I'd start Madison because his game's at 4:00. So you have some time. I would sit Madison if Cook plays at all. And then if he is not playing, I would start Madison over Sermon. Trey Sermon kind of worries me. I know he's kind of the only guy left there, but he just kind of scares me just because of all the drama that's been going on. I don't know about you, Ryan.
I feel like Madison's the safer play. I honestly feel like Sermon probably has more upside just because of the offense that he is in. But given Madison's matchup and the workload that he's likely going to see, I'd probably go with him over those two.
I like Madison, I think, over those two. But like I said, it's only if Cook doesn't play. I feel like Trey Sermon's definitely a start if Cook plays at all, just because Cook could vulture some of those better touches if he does play. So limiting what Alexander Mattison's upside is. So there's your answer. I would say sit and wait it. If Cook plays at the 4:00 window, start Sermon. If Cook's not playing, start Madison. So I think that's nice because you do have some time to kind of play with it, having Sermon as your other option.
I mean, the update that I got on Cook did come out really early this morning. It came out before we even went live. So,
yeah, I mean, it doesn't
come out that early. Doesn't look good. So I would say Madison's probably going to get the start.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just being hopeful here, but yeah, I think that Madison's probably the start. So he's asking too, if he starts Madison as his RB2, who should he play in his flex? Galladay, Sermon, or Gaskin? So I would probably – I'm out on Kenny Galladay. I don't like Kenny Galladay in New York in general. Atlanta's not a bad matchup, though, so it's kind of But I'd probably start Sermon. That's how I feel about that one. I would start Madison and Sermon in his situation. I don't know about you, Ryan.
See, I love the matchup so much this week for Galladay, and he's seen 14 targets so far this year. So he's getting 7+ a game. I feel that the other thing that is kind of concerning with Golladay though is that he was on the injury report for a hip injury, which is what caused him to miss all of last year, basically. So that is a little bit concerning. I don't know if it's the same hip, Jeremy. I don't know if you know, or maybe Austin can fill us in here when he hops on. But the hip injury does make me nervous for Golladay, so I'd probably go with Sermon there as well.
Yeah, I think, Andrew, I'd go Madison and Sermon for me.
Yeah.
Delusional Tanner Morning, Adam Thielen or Deandre Swift in half PPR. Can't start both. Also, should I start D-Hop? Thanks. I saw everything that I've seen this morning. Like Ryan said, Andrew's going to be on here in a couple minutes. Or Austin, not Andrew, sorry. But we have D-Hop supposed to play from what I've seen this morning. So D-Hop's a must start if he's out there. Just because of how high potent that Arizona offense is playing against Jacksonville. It's a great matchup. He should have a big day. Thielen and Swift is tough in half PPR. Like you had mentioned, Ryan, that matchup, especially if Cook doesn't play, Thielen could have a big day, especially because he's one of Cousins' favorite targets in the red zone. And if they're not running in the red zone, they might be throwing a little bit more. So Thielen could see possibly a multi-touchdown game. However, Deandre Swift against Baltimore seems pretty nice. I know it sounds strange, but Baltimore's been very kind of leaky on the defensive side of the ball. And they've been very favorable more to wide receivers than running backs, but DeAndre Swift is used a lot in the passing game. I think I'm going to say Thielen. How do you feel, Ryan? I mean, it's tough. That's really close to me. I like Swift this week too. He might be maybe safer. But I feel like Thielen's in for a big day if Cook doesn't play. Ryan?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that. If Cook is out, I want shares of that receiving game for Minnesota this week. So I would go with Thielen. I mean, he's looked really good so far the last 2 weeks, or the first 2 weeks start the year. He's kind of picked up right where he started at the beginning of last year. So, but DeAndre Swift is, I mean, that's tough to set a guy like DeAndre Swift, especially where you drafted him.
It really is. And that's like I said, where I'm saying on Twitter, I'm going and saying, don't start Antonio Gibson. And a lot of people have taken him in the second round and they probably are like, this guy is crazy, but I just don't like the matchup. You know what I mean? And like DeAndre Swift against Baltimore is really nice. It's not great. You know what I mean? I'm not like top 10 easy matchup, but it also isn't terrible. You know what I mean? Like Baltimore's not the worst right now matchup. It's not like he's facing Tampa. Right. So, but I just think, like you said, the over-under in the Minnesota game, I feel like Thielen has a bigger upside. You know, he's not as safe probably on the floor side, but even he could be, you know what I mean? Like that offense could be way more pass heavy than we see in the past based on the fact that Cook isn't playing. You know, they might not necessarily lean as much on Madison as we think, and they might throw a little bit more. And if that's the case, it's going to be Thielen and Jefferson. And we've seen Thielen be the guy in the red zone for Kirk Cousins. That's where I'm at. You know what I mean? I don't know if that really makes sense for you, but like it just kind of, I feel like the upside, and it's tough because you can't even sit there and wait, you know, because DeAndre Swift's a 1:00 game, Thielen's 4. So it's not even like you can really sit and wait and kind of see. So it's a tough call. I think both have a decent day. But I just feel like Thielen's upside this week could be huge if Cook's out.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go with Thielen there, but it's really hard to sit a guy like Swift. I just like how Thielen's playing so far this year. I mean, Kirk Cousins obviously trusts him, like you said, especially down in the red zone. He's already got 3 touchdowns this year. And D-Hop, if he's active, he's a must start regardless of matchup. He's just in too good of an offense. He's too peppered in that offense and just too good in general. I can't picture a scenario where I'm not starting him at all this season.
Not only that, like I just saw too across the ticker on NFL Network, I forgot CJ Henderson's questionable. So like one of their top corners in Jacksonville might not even be playing. So if that's the case, I mean, I feel like D-Hop's going to pick apart Jacksonville. Appreciated most detailed and clear explanation I've gotten. No problem, Tanner. Hopefully it helps, and hopefully Thielen hits. I'll feel terrible if he doesn't, but I think he's pretty safe.
Yeah.
In your opinion, would you start the Rams defense versus the Bucks today, or the Titans? They have a shot to play backup today. From what it looks like, it's Carson Wentz, not Jacob Eason today. He's expected to play. That's the early reports. Somehow, some way, he may be Wolverine. I'm not really sure. He regenerated his ankles somehow. I don't know how he's playing. However, you are right, because Carson Wentz could be way under 50% of health, and he could take a shot or two, and it could be Jacob Eason. But I still think I like the Rams defense. I'm not totally up to date on exactly how good this matchup is, Ryan. I don't know if you're a little bit more into the defensive side of it, but I feel like the Rams defense versus the Bucks, it's tough. The Titans are just so not good. You know what I mean? Like the Titans defense, all statistics point to the Titans defense not being good, but I don't know what they produce as far as like fantasy points go. I feel like it can't be good.
No, they're not.
Am I wrong?
They're not very good. But I mean, the Rams are good. They're a top 12 defense against wide receivers and a top 10 defense against quarterbacks so far this year. But it is the Bucks, and that offense is so explosive. With AB being out, though, I feel like it doesn't change the offense too much, but it does take away one of Tom Brady's favorite weapons. And Jalen Ramsey's going to be able to lock down whoever he's guarding, whether he's going to shadow Mike Evans like he likely will, or if it's Chris Godwin. So that defense has potential to have like a decent amount of maybe just point, or I don't know. I don't even know. The Rams defense is just so good, but the Bucs offense is so good, and the Titans defense is so bad that it's hard to choose which one. Because I don't feel like Brady's going to make a whole lot of mistakes. Like I don't feel like he's going to be a game where he throws 3 interceptions or anything like that. But the Rams probably have the most upside in terms of their defense, just because of the talent they have on that side of the ball, as opposed to the Titans that don't have a whole lot of talent on that side of the ball. So I would, in a situation like that, I'd rather just go with a more talented defense, and I think that's the Rams.
Fair. I mean, would you explore possibly checking the waiver wire?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't know if that's an option for you.
I would definitely be looking.
But if it is, I mean, maybe come back at us real quick here in a little bit with who's available on your waiver wire, and see. Just because, I mean, there's some defenses that I feel might not be rostered that have, according to Pro Football Focus at least, that have a pretty good matchup. Like Atlanta, Cincinnati, actually they say is a pretty good matchup. I'm not sure why. Facing Pittsburgh seems a little leery there.
Well, Ben's hurt and Deontay's out, so
yeah, I guess I can see that. I mean, Vegas, I don't know if Vegas would be rostered. They're a top 10 matchup.
Yeah, I would.
Pro Football Focus. So, I mean, if someone's out there like that, maybe see if you could pick them up, drop the Titans defense, because I highly doubt anybody's going to pick them up. Someone would pick up the Rams, so I probably wouldn't do that. But I'd drop the Titans defense and see if maybe Vegas is out there, or, like I said, Cincinnati.
If I would say the Raiders.
So, honestly, I'd grab the Saints if those are who are available. I know it sounds weird, but the Saints right now, they're facing Mac Jones in New England. I know they're missing Latimore. I don't think he's playing this week. But I think that front four could be, I think that's a sneaky game that New Orleans defense could take that game over. So I like that. The Jags definitely not against Arizona. That's not going to be good. I'd just start one of your other ones. But I don't know about you, Ryan, but I mean, I feel like the Saints might be a sneaky play. And
yeah.
You kind of,
of that group, I'd definitely go with the Saints, and I'd probably start them over either one of them, because they're at least facing a rookie quarterback. I know the Titans could be playing a guy like Jacob Eason, but we know for a fact that the Saints are playing Mac Jones, and even though he's been pretty efficient with the ball, that probably still gives you the most likelihood of scoring some points. Because I mean, that Rams defense could get you negative points if they don't force any turnovers or score any like special team touchdowns or anything like that. So, Saints are probably the most likely to at least score you positive points of that group.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree. I think that you could see definitely a couple turnovers, possibly even a turnover touchdown from the Saints, I feel like, versus the chances of Tom Brady making that mistake against the Rams,
Yeah.
So I would I'd probably drop the Titans, pick up the Saints, and then probably start them. That's how I would play. Make that play.
Yeah, I don't think the Titans defense are worth even rostering at this point in time.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. All right.
They've been bad.
With that, Austin has joined us. So we will slide over to the injury report. And you're welcome, LaRams. No problem.
So just real quick, just touching on that real quick, I was looking at it. They are expecting Marshawn Latimore and CJ Gardner-Johnson to be back this week. So,
wow, it's a pretty big turnaround for Latimore. Anyways, with that turnaround, we can also take that to Austin and ask him how he feels about Latimore playing, if it's going to actually be anything or if it's not. So we would like to thank – oh, wow, that's way off. Don't know what's up with that. Austin, we can't hear you yet. Oh, now we can hear you.
Hey,
now we can hear you.
Excited to be here. How y'all doing?
Pretty good. How are yourself?
Bills Nation. Oh, I see the Dobbins in the back. I'm a big Ravens fan. So
wait, where's Dolphins?
He said Dobbins in the back.
Oh, I thought he said Dolphins. I was like, where's Dolphins?
No. Yeah, nah.
Ryan's like, Dolphins uniform in my house? What is going on?
Burn the whole house down.
So y'all talking about Latimore, right? Playing?
Yeah, he was just mentioning about a defense side of the ball, and he was going between the Rams, Titans, and Saints. And we had mentioned the Saints, and Ryan said that they expect Latimore to start or play at least. And I was pretty surprised because I remember last he was week to week. So I don't know how you feel if he's going to be anything to possibly help that defense of special teams, or
I don't know. I think to expect him to play. I mean, he's a very explosive guy. I think the Rams. I mean, the Saints D was missing a lot of players last week against the Panthers team. I expect him to be a little bit better this week, but I think Latimore will be effective. I don't know if that's the best play today for his defense, but I do think he'll be effective today, though.
Nice. All right. So there's a couple injuries that me and Ryan are personally looking into. Well, one at least for me, which is Delvin Cook. Okay. What do you expect if Delvin Cook does play? I know it's kind of seems like he's kind of out. I don't know exactly the extent of his injury.
I wouldn't expect him to play. They've took a really cautious approach with him. They always have, even last year with the groin injury. And, ankle sprains are one of those things you definitely want to take his time with, those ligamentous laxity. And sometimes when those ligaments get overstretched, and particularly for a position like that, where there's a lot of lateral movements, cutting, a lot of just explosive cutting movements. It's going to be really tough for him to be as explosive as he normally is, particularly in that zone stretch system where he loves to have that cutback. So I really expect him not to play. If he did play, I would expect his workload to be extremely cut. But again, it's early in the season, 17 games now. So I think a lot of teams are going to take a little bit more cautious approach when it comes to their star players. So I would not expect him to play today.
Nice. I also had one on Carson Wentz. Surprisingly, somehow he regenerated both of his ankles. I don't know how that happened, but he is expected to play, I've seen so far from the reports. Do you expect, I don't know too much on that, ankle sprain with both of them? I feel like that's kind of a big deal for a quarterback. Do you expect him to be able to output close to 100%? More so not as far as a Carson Wentz performance. Do you think it affects Pittman, or do you think it could help him, or do you expect Wentz to kind of still be limited to an extent where Pittman's still a rough start? You know what I mean?
Wentz is really tough, man. He's a tough guy. He always tries to fight out injuries. A double ankle sprain is very, very, very tough. I would expect the Colts offense to be ineffective with him throwing the ball. I think they might be able to have some success with, using some play action from Taylor. I think maybe Pittman finds success there, but I wouldn't expect them to drop back more than probably maybe 25, 30 times with Wentz, being very selective with that. Again, it's week 3. He's your starter. Double ankle sprains, obviously his ability to shift weight onto his plant foot or even to this drop step is going to be very, very, very difficult. So if he plays, I expect him to lean heavy on Taylor, play action. I wouldn't expect a lot of volume as far as in the pass game from them. So not this week for Wentz, no.
Nice. Ryan?
And who are they playing? Who are they playing again? Who are they playing today?
Seattle, yeah.
And they might get down early. So that probably be the only thing I might do.
Were you asking who Indy's playing?
Yeah.
They play the Titans.
Titans. And where is it at? Is it at Titans or is that at Colts?
It's in Tennessee.
Yeah. So I mean they might get behind. I think that might be his best bet, but still, I just really have a hard time believing with again 2 significant ankle sprains that you're going to have an effect of Carson Wentz. Because you remember with a sprain, you're talking about tearing of ligaments. So I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, it's just a sprain." There is damage in the fibers that connect the ligament to the bone and allow the bone and the joint to be stable. So there is a good amount of tearing there. I mean, it just depends on what severity, but I don't see him being as effective this week, at least than he normally would be.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I didn't really think about that. The fact that he probably won't be able to set his feet and plant and really throw the ball downfield. He'll probably have a lot of checkoffs or checkdowns. You feel like Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor get it.
Yeah, that's probably who I lean on there. I mean, it's going to be really, 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 really big with Nyheim Hines and Taylor. So I think those are the ones you target more than anybody. And then maybe some tight ends because he leans heavy on the tight end. So I would say some of the intermediate is good. Pittman is a solid route runner, so even him, some of the intermediate shots. But I wouldn't expect any high volume explosive plays, downfield shots a lot from them today. So.
Yeah, that's fair.
Ryan, you have any questions? I know the one I liked. If you don't have one, I'll go.
I did, but now I can't think of it. Go ahead.
How about Darnell Mooney? What do you expect? I know I think I saw in the injury report it was a groin injury. Do you expect him to be a startable option? I mean, I know groin injuries can kind of linger. I don't know as bad for like a wide receiver versus a running back. But how do you feel about Darnell Mooney this week?
I think he'll be okay. Again, like you said, groin injuries do linger. But I expect him to be effective for 2 reasons. I think he has really good chemistry with Fields, which I've seen like in the preseason. I have a good chemistry there. And also I think they might be falling behind. I think they're going to throw a lot. They're playing, his rookie start. I think it's on the road in Cleveland. So I think there's going to be a decent amount of volume there. So I think he should be okay from an injury standpoint. Remembering a lot of these guys are never playing 100%. I hate that some of these guys are getting hurt this early in the season, but they're never playing 100%. Groins do linger. I expect him maybe to cut his work volume, his snaps, his targets. They'll be very specific with his targets and his snaps. But I expect him to be effective just because of, again, rookie start. I think it's going to be more volume. They might get behind. And I think he is their one explosive playmaker. So with Fields, you never know. He has a great arm. So I think that they will take a couple downfield shots with him.
All right. That's a vote of confidence for me for somebody who has to possibly start Darnell Mooney. So I appreciate that. Ryan?
I think you'll be all right with that decision. I think that actually is a really, really good play. Again, with the rookie quarterback, I think you can definitely see a lot more volume. And they might open up the playbook a little bit more. Because you got to remember that the arm talent on Fields is totally different than Dalton. So I expect really Mooney to have a little bit more success with Fields as opposed to Dalton. Just from the velocity, the strength, and then I just think his ability to push the ball downfield. So,
Ryan, yeah, we also have go ahead.
No, go. We'll go to the question.
Okay, Austin, you can join us as you're getting cut off by our overlay here. Let's just get rid of it. But full PPR, Swift or Madison, and then for his flex would be Marvin Jones or Robert Woods. I guess we could also tie it into the injury issue with Cook. Also, Swift is also questionable. So, Austin, does any of the injury stuff concern you here, like Deandre Swift, or you think he's going to be fine too?
He's going to be fine. Yeah, he'll be fine. He's going to get a lot of volume. The Ravens are missing a lot of the interior DL. They're going to lean heavy on the run game, I believe. I think a lot of them were placed on the COVID protocol, close contact with Jalen Ferguson. So you're missing Brandon Williams. Derek Wolfe is already out. You're missing Justin Houston. So I think you're missing about 4 D linemen. So I expect them to get heavy volume. And then also we always know Goff is really strongest when the run game is effective and he can hit that play action. So yeah, Swift, I have no problems with. I think he'll get a nice amount of volume today against the Ravens. If they have a shot to get an upset, I believe they have to run the ball. So
fair. I think I'm close there with you. I like Madison too against Seattle, especially if Cook is out. But it seems like this is a very common question today. Is DeAndre Swift versus Alexander Madison? I've seen a lot of it out there. And I'm really torn. I like you had said, a lot of stuff. The matchup for Swift just seems really nice, but Madison against Seattle is like the premier matchup, seeing as in Seattle's kind of the worst against running backs at the moment.
Yes.
So
you got to remember, I mean, Derrick Henry had a crazy second half last week. So
yeah,
I mean, you know what I mean? So like,
that's the struggle, you know?
Yeah, they struggle.
You're looking at that early, like points per game against, and it's like who they faced, you know? And that's the tough thing is like, is Seattle that bad or did Derrick Henry just do?
And that's what I'm thinking. I'm leaning on Derrick Henry.
So for me, I think I'm going to go with Austin. I think I like Swift. Like you had said, all those linemen out for Baltimore. Baltimore's defense also just kind of hasn't been Baltimore's defense. You know, it just this year seems a little bit off for them. They're just getting hit with injuries left and right, whether it's at my poor running back positions and wide receivers, everything that it is. Anybody can see Baltimore's just kind of taking that injury hit. So I'm in on Swift today. And then I like Marvin Jones over Robert Woods, just a matchup and also game script. I feel like Jacksonville's going to be throwing all day playing Arizona. So. Ryan,
I think another sneaky little hit that the people that we expect to play that I think are viable hits. I think Odell Beckham is a viable. I think Noah Fant is. These are all people that we expected to play. Tim Patrick and Trey Sermon. I think all 4 of those guys I expect to play and expect to be pretty effective. And even Odell, I feel like they're going to get him in the game, get him involved early. I think the reason why his return was a little bit delayed was I think he has some meniscal involvement. Again, I don't know this for sure. I'm not his provider, but usually clear-cut ACLs, he would have came back, I think, at a little bit more accelerated rate. I'm almost certain, remember that 85 to 90% sure that his meniscus was involved. So that's probably what the delay was. I know people are like, why is he not back? Why is he not back? But I think it was some meniscal involvement there, why I expect. But I expect Odell, Font, Patrick, and Sermon, Trey Sermon, to have pretty decent games as they're coming from the injury list. So,
sure, nice. All right, so hopefully that helps you, Darren. Ryan, did you think of your injury questions?
Well, actually, Swift was my main one, but he already touched on that because he was limited all week. I know he's got that. What was it, groin injury or something? Mm-hmm. But the other one we already talked about was Kenny Golladay with the hip. I know we said it earlier that he missed all of last year because of that hip injury. I don't know if it's the same hip. I don't know if you have any information on that, on how he's looking with that.
I don't know if it was the same hip. Let me see.
That's what I was curious on, because if it is, it's a little bit more concerning than it typically would be.
Yeah, it would be, because he did have, I believe, some labor issues last year. But with him, just because of his length and he's a taller guy, a lot of times it's hard to get in and out of breaks, for sure, for him to drop them hips if he's having any type of dysfunction there. So I would stay away from him. I think just with the Giants offense in general, and then his ability to he missed a lot of the preseason. He hasn't been able to gel with them really well. And then he's coming off this hip that, again, I think it does affect his ability to get in and out of his breaks very cleanly. Because I think this is more of not a soft tissue. This is an articular issue, which means it's something in the joint capsule, which makes it tough to forcefully plant, get out of your breaks. So, again, with this being more of a capsular issue, because I think, like you said, it's a lingering thing. And again, a lot of small, slender people with that type of physique, receivers, do typically have some type of capsular issues in their hips. And I think those are sometimes tough to get in and out of your break. So, again, I probably would stay away from Galladay today personally, not even just because of his injury situation, but also just I think the Giants' offense is very, very, very kind of erratic a little bit. And I think some of the play calling is a little suspect from Jason Garrett. But I like, to me, Sterling Shepard. I think he's a lot better fit for what Jones likes to do. He works over the middle. He's tough. I just think the hip is going to limit Galladay's ability to get out of his breaks. Remember, he's an outside receiver. So if you can't get out of your breaks really cleanly, then you're going to be ineffective. So I would probably stay away from Galladay today.
So sticking with that same game, do you think Evan Ingram makes his debut today?
Yes, I do. He does. I do believe he does. And again, I like any in the middle of the field action with Jones. So I would expect Evan to be pretty effective. He's a great athlete. He just got to stay on the field, and that's really, really all it is about with him. But I think he will return today.
He's ranked pretty low on ECR right now. I don't know where exactly he is, but do you think he's startable if he's active? Coming off
the matchup. They're playing the Falcons, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they got Atlanta.
I would say yes, because Jason Garrett, I know he leans heavy on tight ends in his offense, and Evan is an athlete. So yes, I would say yes. I would think he is a viable start, particularly in daily fantasies. If you're trying to find that punt play, to kind of particularly like FanDuel, DraftKings, you're trying to find these punts, right? These are the plays that you need to create variability. I would go with him. I think he's a good play. Again, I just think Jason Garrett's offense, he's coming off the injury, because you got to remember, any injury usually is going to give you a little heads up on any daily fantasy. So I would say yes. I think he will be a viable option.
Yeah, they got him all the way down. Our ECR got him at 30 right now. So
yeah, it is. It's very low. Yeah,
seems like a pretty good value there. He's below guys like Troutman, Alberto,
like that. Come on, he should definitely be around. I'll at least still put him in top 20. I don't know, 30 is that's really, really, really low. So,
especially at tight end.
Yeah, there's not that many viable tight end options anyway. So to put him in 30 that seems criminal. But yeah, I definitely think he's a valuable punt play for sure.
To be fair, everything from 17 down is all basically the same person, anyways. So
17. You say 17? You can find 17 tight ends that are different than the other 7.
Well, no, but I'm saying
I'm at 7. Once we hit the seventh tight end, and after that, they're all the same. Who scores more touchdowns?
I only trust 5 in the league.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Rob Gronkowski's at ECR 8 right now, so I feel like you probably trust him more than the 17th ranked guy, though.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. After 7, I'm out. Just start throwing darts.
Who's the top 5? If you don't mind me asking, who's the top 5
for ECR? Top 5 is Kelsey, Waller, Hawkinson, Kittle, Andrews.
And Andrews is top 5, and he's
Kyle
had
Pitts
a
at
real
6.
slow start this season too. So I'm kind of shocked by that.
Kyle
I thought
Pitts
he'd be around 10.
Noah Fant at 7.
Okay, that's interesting. I think Noah Fant. I think he's one today coming off the injury report. I think he'll be pretty effective as well. So he's the one that I like today, and in their matchups, I think he's a good viable tight end play as well today.
How do you? Speaking of that, we'll segue into that. Do you think Sutton's all the way back now?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think the biggest thing you could see, I was seeing with some of his cuts and the way he's coming in and out. His game last week was insane, and I think initially with that type of injury, particularly coming off the ACL, it's psychological. It's fear, anxiety, apprehension. Those are big negative indicators to movement. Those people I see even when I treat non-athletes, just people, recreational athletes, and I think he's over that. His breaks look great. He's in and out. good breaks, good routes. So yes, I think he's all the way back. The only thing about that is just controlled swelling, because again, sometimes you will get some residual swelling, sometimes post-op, particularly with the ACL like that. So just monitor him through the week, give him light days during the practice week, but no, as far as game day, he's not limited at all. So
I was gonna say, if you saw him on the injury report throughout the week, would you be all that surprised? Like just assuming that he had like a rest day or just maybe has some swelling on Tuesday or something like that?
That's it. And that's what I mean. Just you want to monitor the swelling. So again, he will have a light. I would say particularly the first half of the season, he's going to have some light days during the practice week. Same thing with Odell, right? You've seen Odell on the injury list, and this is his first week playing. But again, you probably will see him on there for the first half. Again, you want to limit swelling because swelling is nothing but space occupying inside the joint, and then it can disrupt other structures. So as long as you keep that minimum and reduce the joint forces, then you should be fine. And that's why you see a lot of these guys on the injury report questionable, but they are playing. A lot of that is just monitoring them and allowing them to kind of get their bodies in shape and ready for game day. So good coaches do it. Good sports medicine teams do it. So that's why you see it a lot.
Fair. That's why I really wish they wouldn't have got rid of the probable tag. Like everybody's questionable, even if they're on the injury report. Like they,
yeah. To me, if you see questionable, I would say to me nowadays, that's like 90% sure they're going to play. You see doubtful, then that's probably more close to around the 50. So doubtful, you usually are not going to see them play. I'll say 50-50 shot. But I mean, if you see questionable, I usually go for at least 85 to 90% sure they'll play. Unless something happens like in the pregame warm up, or something like that, it's a setback. But usually they'll play.
Right.
So one last one here before we can, if we'll let you go, and you could set your lineups. But real quick, Marquis Brown. Do you think that ankle lingers for him today? Do you think he can be as effective if he does play? I know he's listed questionable.
No.
If he plays, do you think he can be kind of what he has been the last, we'll say, even at end of last year into this early beginning of the season? The Lions are pretty decimated at the cornerback position, so he's got an easy matchup. The question is, though, is that ankle going to be an issue, you think, for him, or do you think he can still kind of produce? I mean, he's really kind of he's a good route runner, but he's got that speed, and like the ankle, I feel like could kind of possibly hurt him. Or do you think that's probably not anything to really worry too much about for him?
Yeah, I wouldn't worry much about the ankle at all. I mean, he was very, very, very effective against Kansas City Chiefs. I think they were probably really cautious with him this week. So I think even giving another week of him just allowing his body to heal a little bit. I mean, trust me, he's probably taped up. They have it, stiffened up so he can be effective. I think he's going to be okay. Him and Lamar have a great connection right now. I'm really curious to see what happens when Bateman comes back, how that affects that, for negatively or positively, right? A lot of people are riding Marquis high, but Bateman he is a really great athlete, subtle. Yeah. But ride Marquis right now until Bateman comes back. I think he's going to be effective. Like you said, the Lions are decimated at corner, so they're going to probably play a lot of zone. And that's where Marquis is really more effective, and Lamar. A lot in those zone coverages, he's great. He's even been great with that when he played at Oklahoma. He's a great zone beater. He finds spaces. He understands kind of zone concepts. So, yeah, I would ride Marquis high. Don't think ankle's going to be a big problem unless, again, a lot of people don't understand this. Unless there's a setback, usually in the pregame. A lot of times people don't really pay too much attention to that. But a lot of times that pregame warm-up, that pregame workout, sometimes can cause setbacks of people who are injured. So long as that's not the case, I feel like he's going to be effective.
Nice. All right. We appreciate having you on this morning. Hopefully we can make it a weekly thing.
Oh, yeah. Weekly,
10 a.m.
man. Yes.
Jeremy,
sounds good.
Jeremy, pop up that question because it involves Marquis.
So Marquis Brown, Thielen, or McLaurin this week?
Who's Thielen? Who's Thielen them playing?
Seattle. They're the Seattle game.
And then McLaurin is who?
Buffalo.
Yeah, Marquis. Definitely. Marquis. Even if he is injured, I'll take him just from the matchup.
Yeah, I'm leaning Marquis or Thielen. Not even just being a homer. I don't like McLaurin against Buffalo. I just feel like that front four has been really effective at getting to the quarterback right now. And they're going to do it again, possibly against Washington. And Taylor Heineke's not going to have the time to throw. Not only that, because sometimes he doesn't, but if Trey White follows McLaurin. Makes it a tougher matchup. McLaurin's obviously beaten better corners at times, so it's not like the end of the world for him. I just don't know if the time's going to be there for Heineke to get the ball out to him. So I like Marquis. It's either Marquis or Thielen for me, whoever you trust a little bit more there. But I don't know about you, Ryan. Maybe you can be the tiebreaker.
I think Marquis has the higher ceiling. Thielen has a higher floor of that group. So I was wrong. We've been wrong before when it comes to guys with higher ceilings, possibly being make or break type of weeks. So I would take the higher ceiling with Marquis Brown.
But I would say if we're talking about daily fantasy, I think Marquis and Thielen will be highly owned. So if you want to kind of make a dart play, I think McLaurin probably won't because, again, the matchup. And again, it seemed like him and Heineke have a good little connection, though. So after watching that Giants game, so, I mean, and they might be behind. So, again, Marquis, like you said, a high ceiling with Marquis, high floor for Thielen, but I think a little good little dart play would be McLaurin, though, I think, personally.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I can see your Buffalo Bills beating up on him. Right.
Maybe. I don't know. Josh Allen's been a little rough.
Man, what's up with Josh Allen, man? I got him on my weekly, man. He ain't been nothing for me. I'm hurting right now.
Trust me, my like 30 dynasty teams too are hurting.
Like, jeez.
But he'll get it together.
Yeah, he will.
It's a prime example of you should maybe play people in the preseason, even though to my right, or is that my left? I don't know how you guys see it, but as a prime example of why you shouldn't play people, because JK is dearly missed for the Baltimore Ravens. But yeah, I think it's just they're a little rusty. It's taking some time for them to get together. And Josh Allen was just super highly effective last year, almost too highly effective.
Wow. And I already kind of knew that was.
I expected regression. But right now, I think he looked better against Miami. Pittsburgh's not bad, though. And I think that was the thing that everybody just came out. They had the Bills riding so high. And then when they played Pittsburgh, they're like, what the heck happened here? But Pittsburgh's not bad. And I think that's what everybody just thinks Pittsburgh's bad for some reason. And I just still don't think they're bad, so. But hopefully he gets it together. But
particularly on defense, I think Pittsburgh still is effective on defense. The offense, that's a different story with, Big Ben, his injury, kind of his lack of, athletic performance over the last couple of years. I mean, he's beat up. So I think that's why people kind of are down on Pittsburgh more is because of Big Ben, I believe. But their defense has always been pretty good, though.
Yeah, so I think they'll be in more games than they think. So
yeah,
but all right, awesome.
I love it, my man. I appreciate y'all having me on. I look forward to it every week. Again, have those questions ready, man, and we can just keep talking and hopefully allowing everybody to feel good about it. Even if y'all want to go into more specific things about the human body, if y'all have any questions that help tie the game of football into also just functional stuff that maybe you going through, and any of y'all guys going through, any listeners have any questions, just things that I can answer just from just any type of movement perspective, just let me know. We can tie it all in together.
Yeah, for sure. If you guys have questions or anything, anybody listening, you can find Austin on Twitter at Fantasy DPT. Feel free to reach out. Like you said, hopefully he can help you out. So, all right.
All right. Hey, go Ravens, man.
Yes, I'm with you. I'm a low-key Ravens fan, so I'm with you.
I'm there.
Hopefully
see y'all next week.
See you. All right, Ryan. That was definitely a good add to the show. I like that aspect of it.
Yep.
All right.
A little bit better about things, hearing from somebody that actually knows what they're talking about. Speak on players. Like obviously things happen, like you said, in pregame warm-ups and things like that. But knowing that somebody who actually is involved in that space is on saying certain things about certain players, it helps give you a little bit more clarity on what to expect from today or Monday or whatever the case may be.
For sure. All right, Ryan, you want to go over our top starts and sits for this week? Or do you want to start with quarterbacks?
Yeah, we can start there.
All righty. Give me a second to get this loaded. Oh. We'll leave Dawson Knox on there.
What?
It's not liking what I'm trying to do here, so. What is going on, computer? Technical difficulties. Everybody relax. There we go. Now if I can get this off of here. All right, Ryan. Obviously, you're not starting Dawson Knox at quarterback, but
That's also top sits there, bud.
fine, whatever, dude.
I'm just trying to help you out.
It won't load. I can't help it.
There we go.
All right. Go ahead.
All right. So I got Daniel Jones as a start this week.
Oh my, what is going on?
I know we talked about the matchup quite a bit already today. But last week against Washington, Jones was 22 of 32, 249 yards and a touchdown. He also rushed 9 times for 95 yards and a score. According to Player Profiler, he is 3rd in completed air yards, 4th in air yards per attempt, and 8th in total air yards, and 9th in fantasy points per dropback. And going up against an Atlanta defense that's given up the most fantasy points to QBs the first 2 weeks and the 6th most rushing yards to QBs. I love Jones as a streaming option this week.
Yeah, I'm all in on that. I like Daniel Jones this week too. He was kind of one of my guys. I have a couple extra, but for me, I like Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr against Miami is going to be sneaky. I think it's time to kind of just give Derek Carr his due. It's a guy that I've always kind of low-key been high on, definitely higher than more people. Oh, yeah, he's the one who's our wide receiver. I forgot to fix that. But either way, he's a good start this week against Miami. I think he's going to continue to have what he has done in the first 2 weeks. I think Waller will be a big factor as Miami kind of has struggled against tight ends. So I think with the lack of Jacoby Brissett at helm instead of Tua Tagovailoa, I think that the defense is going to be out there a little bit more, and I think they're going to get wore down. And I just feel like the Raiders are a good option this week for a lot of different starts, leading off first with Derek Carr.
Yeah, that's fair. The only thing I worry about with Carr this week is if they get out to an early lead and they just kind of coast the rest of the way. I don't feel like that Miami offense is going to be as effective as you might usually see. So that's the only slight concern that I have with them is that they get out to an early lead and they just kind of milk the clock. But matchup wise, I agree that they're not the most intimidating matchup for quarterbacks. Are you good? You're right.
Yeah, I'm fine. I don't know. My computer's doing weird things.
I was gonna say you seem a little frustrated right now.
I am. I don't know what's going on here. Either way, though, start Derek Carr. End of story.
Anyways, my number 2 guy that I'm in favor of starting this week is Ryan Tannehill. And I know he's been relatively disappointing to start the year, but last week he was 27 of 40 for 347. Oddly didn't throw a touchdown, but he did have a touchdown to Julio Jones called back last week.
Thank you.
And it would have made his day look a lot better. I don't know if you saw the video of that, but I thought it was clearly a touchdown. I feel like you could clearly see it
live. I
didn't see it live. I did not see it live. I can't say that.
Yeah, I was watching. Well, I mean, not in person, but I was watching the game, and it was a touchdown. I don't know how they missed that.
Yeah, I mean, you could clearly see the gap of end zone between Julio's foot and the back of the end zone. So I feel like people wouldn't look so down on Tannehill's performance last week if he would have had that touchdown. But Colts are a bottom 12 defensive QB so far this year, despite seeing the 3rd fewest attempts in the league. They've given up the 3rd most passing touchdowns and are giving up over 14 yards per completion. And Tannehill's got the 9th most attempts so far in the league, and he's got the 10th best ADOT. So I think he's kind of due in a divisional game against a Colts team that's proven to be vulnerable to throwing quarterbacks. I'd feel pretty comfortable having Tannehill in my lineup this week.
Yeah, I like it, and I hope it happens. I love Ryan Tannehill as an option, always usually. So I do enjoy that start. For me, one other one is Teddy Bridgewater against the Jets. I think that this is a sneaky, not necessarily a sneaky play. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater, another one like Derek Carr that's come out this season, done really well. I know the Jets aren't the most favorable matchup. However, they've only faced Mac Jones and Sam Darnold, so I'm not like set on being like, whoa, they're really good defense. I think that the Broncos have their way with the Jets today, and I think it starts with Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, I agree.
We had a question from James. Start Hopkins with a limited role or start Godwin. And then he also has Gibson and Tyson in PPR. So let's start with Hopkins and Godwin.
Man,
that's a tough one. But I'm going to start Hopkins. I don't know if he's going to necessarily be super limited. Like we'd mentioned on the show earlier a little bit too, both two corners are kind of listed just questionable on the Jags injury report. So Hopkins should be facing somebody that is quote unquote, like not necessarily on the same level as far as the talent and his covering. So I'm just kind of like in on Hopkins. I feel like even if it's a limited role, I still think he sees enough to outproduce Chris Godwin this week. I don't love Godwin against the Rams. I feel like he's going to draw Ramsey over Mike Evans personally. I don't know. I just kind of like Hopkins against the Jags. It just seems a safer start for me. How about you, Ryan?
Yeah, with AB being out, I love Godwin. I don't know who he has that he's not able to start both of them. Like, I feel like in a typical league, you're probably able to start both of them. So I don't know if he's got another stud that he can start in place of Godwin. But like I said earlier, I can't bench Hopkins like for anything. I just can't do it. If he's active and he's playing, you should be starting him just because he's such a big factor in that offense, and a high-powered offense is expected to score a ton of points today. So I would start him, but I don't like benching Chris Godwin. I have him in my lineup whenever he's active as well. So
yeah, it's tough. It's interesting. I mean, I don't know what the limited or like where he is on as far as like he has CD and Ridley. So
loaded.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd probably start Hopkins over Godwin with that lineup just because you already have some pretty high-end starts in CD and Ridley this week. Gibson and Tyson. I'm in on Tyson. I had mentioned it earlier. I don't like the Gibson start against Buffalo. I know it's last season. It was a big deal. The Bills were really bad against running backs. They've gotten a lot better. The front four, which is really like 8, they rotate well. They do well. They get pressure. They break off a lineman. Gibson, I think, is going to struggle, especially seeing as in how much McKissick's used in the passing game. I just don't see Gibson getting enough targets or anything to offset it. I don't think he scored a touchdown. The Bills haven't let up a touchdown to running backs yet this season, so I just don't see that happening. So I'm in on Tyson over Gibson. I don't know about you, Ryan.
Yeah. See, I love Antonio
Gibson
so much, and it sucks. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I do expect McKissick to be involved in this game quite heavily with how the pass rush for Buffalo has been. I feel like he's going to see a lot of work. And I mean, Baltimore's playing Detroit, second most points of running back so far this year. And even if Tyson doesn't get a full workload, even if he gets 12 to 15 touches, I feel like that's plenty enough to be effective against Detroit to start him over Gibson this week. So sadly, I'm probably going to go with Tyson there.
He also has, I don't know if this is the same thing or same league, James, if you want to let us know, but Cook out. Do I play Madison, Tyson, or Damian Harris? I like how effective Damian Harris has been this year. New Orleans, I don't love the matchup for him. So I'm kind of a little bit like, I mean, I would start him in some leagues, but I'm not like, yes, this is a great matchup. I personally think Madison and Tyson have better matchups this week. So I'm going to take Madison in this situation. I like the matchup. If Cook is completely out, I like Madison. The tough thing is you're not going to know that until later for sure. But Austin had alluded to on our injury segment there that Cook is probably going to get nursed in. I expect him kind of to miss. I feel like he hasn't practiced all week. So I'm in on Madison against Seattle over Tyson personally. So it's the same league.
That one's tough. I think I'm out on Harris this week. Saints defense are a top 8 against running backs in terms of fantasy points allowed so far this year. And he's just not their PPR guy. That's obviously James White. He's going to see the majority of the work there. So I feel like I'd go Madison because I feel like he is if Cook's going to be out, he's probably guaranteed to have more opportunities than Tyson is. So, and like we said, we already love that matchup against Seattle. So I'd probably go Madison there, and then probably Madison, Tyson, Damian Harris in that order.
Yeah, I agree with that order. I like that. So I think to sum up your questions there, James, I think it's Hopkins over Godwin. I'd start Tyson over Gibson, and then Madison, Tyson, Damian Harris. Is that the order you had it in, Ryan?
Yeah.
So
I do got a question for you though, Jeremy.
Hit me.
He says he's got CD and Ridley as well. Are you comfortable starting Ridley given how he's been facing Bradbury and just how that offense has looked?
Yeah. To me,
over Godwin.
Yeah. Because Bradbury doesn't really travel. So if they move Ridley to the other side, he's not going to have Bradbury. Do you know what I'm saying? He doesn't travel with guys, I think.
That
if
would
I remember,
be my,
he plays his side.
That would be my question. Would not Hopkins over Godwin. It would be Ridley over Godwin.
Yeah, I feel like you're right there. Like that would be my bigger question. I feel like Hopkins and CD are the lock, and it would be more of a Godwin over Ridley.
Right.
I love Calvin Ridley, so for me, I'm starting Ridley just on the basis that I feel like this is a get-right game for Atlanta. I feel like this is kind of they got to do what they have to do. And the pass rush for the Giants, I don't think is super great, so the offensive line should be able to hold up. Without Russell Gage playing, without Frank Darby, I mean, there's no other options. It's Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts, and Olamide Zacchaeus. So I expect Ridley to see a lot of targets in this game. I think this game could be a low-key shootout. I like Ridley personally. I think
he's just not. Really.
Yeah, of either game, I feel like the Giants-Falcons game has a chance to hit the over than Tampa Bay and the Rams. I feel like that game could turn out to be like this sneaky low defensive game in the Rams-Bucks game. So I could see Godwin not seeing a lot. I think it could be another game where you see Gronk getting 1 or 2 touchdowns. So versus Godwin getting those touchdowns. So where I see Ridley being the target in the red zone. You know what I mean? He kind of always has been. So I know Kyle Pitts is kind of there, but we even saw it against Tampa. You know what I mean? They try to get Ridley. He's just so good off the line to get that quick separation that the red zone's his go-to. So I like him over Godwin personally this week.
Yeah, that's right. That was just what I was thinking was that I feel like Hopkins and CD are locks, and it's more Godwin over Ridley or Ridley over Godwin that you'd be questioning.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that statement for sure. Ethan, should he start Madison or Sutton and flex PPR? I'm starting Sutton.
Yeah.
I think the Broncos are in for a big game this week, and I think Sutton's going to be the benefactor there. We saw it last week without Jerry Jeudy. He's the guy, and Teddy Bridgewater has more than enough talent to get him the ball. And the Jets don't have much for corners, so I'm all in on Courtland Sutton this week. He feels safer and feels like he has a higher ceiling than Alexander Madison personally.
Yeah,
especially in PPR.
From what we saw last week from Sutton, I have to keep him in your lineup now. Like I said before last week, like on our live show last Sunday, that I wanted to see it from him first, and now that I've seen it, I'm probably not going to take him out of my lineup unless it's just a horrible, rotten matchup, and even then, I'm still probably keeping him in there.
Yeah, he looked good. He looked back to what we thought Courtland Sutton was going to be before his injury last season. So he's almost like a lock for me, like you said. You know what I mean? Unless I have somebody who's like got like this premier matchup, but even at that point, like they'd have to be a better player than Sutton. And to me, Madison isn't. He's a good start in a situation where like you're weak at running back or you had Cook, like, you know what I mean? Against other running backs at the running back position, I'm in on Madison, but in a flex and a PPR league, Sutton is a must start for me. So
yeah, Sutton was a wide receiver 4 in PPR last week and didn't even score a touchdown. So
yeah,
I'm starting.
We got CeeDee Lamb jumping in.
Hey.
Obviously a fantasy player. Surprised he doesn't roster himself. No, JK.
No.
But Michael Pittman or Keenan Allen in full PPR, Ryan.
That's Keenan Allen for me. We already talked about Wentz and how ineffective his down the field ball is likely going to look, or how we think it might look. We don't really expect that to be all that effective. Might be a big Nyheim Hines, Jonathan Taylor check down game, maybe Jack Doyle mixed in. So, and Keenan Allen, obviously going against the Chiefs, going to be a high scoring game, going to have to throw a ton, paired to a better quarterback as well. So I would go with Keenan Allen there. I just want every piece of that. I need every piece of that offense or that game today.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like Mike Williams has kind of emerged as like almost the guy right now. He's seeing just as many targets as Keenan Allen, kind of has the better fantasy performances weekly like right now, but Keenan Allen is still very effective. That game's going to be a shootout to an extent. And I know that some of the Chiefs linemen, defensive linemen, are on the injury report as questionable. So Herbert might have a little bit extra time to sit back there and throw. So I like Keenan Allen. Michael Pittman, he's on the cusp right now for me. Like he's about to be a weekly start. Like he did really well last week, but now, like we had mentioned, Austin had mentioned too, that Carson Wentz might have trouble planting with the double ankle sprain. So he's kind of the downfield guy. So I'm a little bit more worried about Pittman. Allen just feels safer. Feels like he's an easy double-digit point guy this week. He might not take the top off, where Pittman might be able to have a 20-point week. I don't know if Keenan Allen can do that, but Pittman also might have like a 5-point week. So I'm taking the safer play there with Keenan Allen. That's just, I think, where I'm at too. So, and like CD said, why would he bench himself? That's a smart play. So if anybody's listening and has any questions, don't ever bench CD Lamb. Just saying.
I mean, Jeremy, not to go against you here, but I mean, Keenan Allen does have back-to-back 100-yard games so far this year.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the fantasy points. Mike Williams has outplayed him as far as
fantasy
goes.
That's because he's got the touchdowns.
Correct. And what is king in fantasy football, Ryan?
What's touchdowns? But in this game,
exactly.
What's the odds of Keenan Allen not scoring a touchdown in this game?
The odds? I don't know. I don't think the book.
What do you
think my odds are? Is that what you're asking, or are you asking what the actual Vegas odds are?
No, I'm just saying, like, what would you bet in favor of Keenan Allen scoring a touchdown today?
No.
Against the Chiefs?
Nope.
Wow.
I think it's Mike Williams again. I do. I think that they want to target Mike Williams in the red zone. He's the bigger threat, bigger box. I mean, I just don't see him getting there. I also think that they lean a little bit on Austin Eckler in the red zone. So, you know what I mean? I think Keenan Allen's on the lackluster side of the fantasy. You know what I mean? He's productive. He's safe, but he's almost to like that Tyler Boyd feeling. You know what I mean? Like he's a safe play. He's going to get you like 15 points, but I just don't know if he scores the touchdowns anymore. I'm just saying. I don't know if he's there yet. Like, don't quote me totally, but I'm just saying he just seems like they really like Mike Williams.
I'm putting it on Twitter right now.
Do it. Why not? Blast me. I already said that I wouldn't start Antonio Gibson. So, I mean, everybody's probably hates me anyways.
Well, here you go.
PPR pick 2, Edmonds, Madison, and Gibson. I'm in on Chase Edmonds this week. I like the matchup against Jacksonville. I know that he is probably going to get at least some PPR work early on in the passing game. And then I think at second half, you're going to see him using Gibson and Connor. It's going to be a run game. I like him this week. Favorable matchup. As far as Gibson and Madison go, I'm honestly leaning Madison. I know this is probably a not like majority take. I just don't like Gibson against the Bills this week. They haven't allowed much as far as running backs go. They haven't allowed a running back touchdown yet. I don't think they have a double-digit fantasy performance even in PPR against them. I know it was Myles Gaskin with Jacoby Brissett and then Najee Harris. But everybody was high on Najee Harris and a big workload with Pittsburgh, and we saw what it was. We've seen it week in and week out lately that Pittsburgh offensive line is scary. So is it just that? or are the Bills just that good? But the edge rushers and that defensive line, Star Latule, has definitely made a big difference. And I think that I just don't like it. Gibson isn't involved in the passing game enough. I see J.D. McKissic getting a bigger workload today than Gibson. And I just don't see either of them scoring a touchdown. So I don't see the upside there, where I see Alexander Madison having a better chance at scoring a touchdown and having a bigger day. So that's where I am. I don't know about you, Ryan.
No, I agree. Edmonds is definitely a start for me, especially in this group. And then Madison, like you said, I feel like he probably just has more of a workload than Gibson's going to see in the matchup against the Bills. So I would agree and go Edmonds and Madison.
Tyson Williams, Madison, Javonte Smith, Marquis Brown, or Galladay flex PPR. Brett, you have built a great team. So here's where I'm at. I'm probably out on Galladay for sure in this list. And for me, I'm going to go between Javonte Smith and Marquis Brown. In full PPR, I'm looking at the wide receivers here. I just feel like Tyson Williams doesn't get used in the passing game enough to really have that high upside. Madison, I also maybe don't see getting used as much in the passing game. I think he has an effective game. But I kind of feel like Marquis Brown is at the start here. Detroit is very decimated at corner and just in general in their defensive backfield. And I feel like Detroit's sneakily going to be able to keep up with Baltimore, and I think they're going to have to throw a little bit more again this week. So I kind of like Marquis Brown. Obviously, he's questionable, so watch the injury report early on, right before the game starts. Make sure that he is playing. If he doesn't, I'm going to pivot to Javonte Smith. That's where I'm at. Would be Brown, and then Smith is second. I think Lamar plays to answer that question. If Lamar doesn't play, so here's the situation. Again, it's going to be injury based. If Lamar doesn't play, definitely pivot off of Marquis Brown. But I'm pretty sure he plays, so I'm not too worried about that. But if he doesn't, don't play Brown and then go with Javonte Smith. That's where I'm at. How about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, Lamar's going to play. I mean, he was only out with like an illness or something like that. He wasn't. I don't really think he was concerned about the hip. I know he missed practice or was limited in practice because of his hip. But when I just looked at the most recent injury report, he was just kind of sitting. He was kind of questionable with an illness from what I saw, and I don't think that's really a concern. This one's tough for me because Devonta's playing the Cowboys, and the Cowboys' secondary is not very good.
There's the Lions. Like they're favorable matchups. All of these are really. It's a tough situation. Tough situation.
I will say Galladay's the odd man out for sure. Because the thing is that you can see a path for all four of those other guys to have big weeks. Like Tyson, the Ravens could get up on the Lions and they could just run all over them. Madison could see a decent amount of work against the worst rushing defense in the league currently, at least statistically. Devonta Smith is going against the Cowboys, what could be a high-scoring game, and he's going to see a ton of targets. He should see a ton of targets anyways. And Marquis Brown's going against the Lions and should see a bunch of work too. So I feel like we're going to be wrong no matter who we go here. I feel like that's just where I'm at with this. You said Marquis if Lamar is playing, which he's going to.
And then Javonte Smith if Lamar and or Marquis is out.
All right, so I'll take that approach as well. If Lamar Jackson is not playing, I would go with Tyson Williams. So I feel like you're going to have to lean on the running game a lot more. If he is playing, I would go with Devonta Smith. I'll take the higher scoring opportunities with Smith there.
I agree. That's what I mean. I feel like that seems like the logical play for me, is both of those guys in that order. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I mean, Lamar's going to play. So, I mean, Marquis Brown's not a bad play at all, I don't think. But if he doesn't play, I think Tyson is due for a big workload. I feel like the running backs are in for a big workload if he doesn't play. Like I said, Devonta Smith, I just feel like that game is going to be higher scoring than the Baltimore-Detroit game. So I want to be involved with the higher scoring game.
I'm just still not sold that it's like Tyson's backfield. I think that even if they start to run a little bit more, you might see Latavius Murray and other people kind of just get involved in that workload.
Yeah, I mean, Latavius Murray definitely could see the goal line work. I mean, he had a goal line rushing touchdown last week. So that's still a possibility.
He also has, I mean, I have Keenan Allen and Godwin at wide receiver. I should start any of those players over them. No. Yeah, I agree. He also has Gibson as his RB2. I mean, it's up to you, Brett. But I personally like Alexander Madison over Antonio Gibson. If Delvin Cook isn't playing, but even that's tough because Tyson plays at 1 too. Yeah, I just don't like Gibson against the Bills this week, so I'm out on him. I don't know if Ryan really is, but if you feel like playing it a little risky, I mean, Gibson just by namesake kind of feels like the safer start. But I like Alexander Madison this week against Seattle. I even like Tyson against Detroit a little bit better than Gibson. I just don't see the matchup for Gibson to really give you a high upside. I feel like he might even score less than 10 points this week. I just don't see him scoring a touchdown, and I don't see him producing enough rushing yards to really get you there. Just because he's not going to be involved as much in the passing game. Like J.D. McKissick's kind of like the guy there still in the passing game. So no matter how much we want to will it into being Gibson, it's not. So Ryan, I'll let you kind of see if you can talk some sense maybe into me or.
The thing is though, is that I don't really think that McKissick is like locked into being the guy. I mean, they both have 7 targets. It's not like McKissick's just getting every single target out of the backfield. They both have 7 targets. It's just McKissick seems to be more effective when he's getting those touches. And I don't know if it's because defenses are keying in on Gibson when he's in and they're not really worried about McKissick for some reason or what exactly it is, but they've seen the same amount of targets. Like I said, they've both seen 7. It's just McKissick saw 6 last week. So everybody's kind of favoring McKissick over Antonio Gibson, but Gibson saw 5 to McKissick 1 in week 1. So I agree that I don't like the matchup against Buffalo. I really don't, even though I'm wearing a Buffalo hat and I'm a Buffalo fan. I'm not just saying that. I just don't. I agree that the matchup's not great. And that's where it's hard because I like Gibson a lot. I feel like he's really talented. I feel like you drafted him at such a high price that you feel like you have to start him, and it just looks kind of weird in your lineup having Alexander Madison over Gibson or Tyson Williams over Gibson. But it might be one of those scenarios where you just kind of want to see it from Gibson first. You know what I mean? Like we haven't seen him put up that performance yet to really trust him yet. So
no, and that's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like Gibson hasn't really done enough for me to say like, oh, he has in the past to an extent, but like the Bills have looked very good against running backs this week as far as fantasy goes. Like, so I'm not set to be like, oh, I'm not saying that Antonio Gibson's Delvin Cook yet. You know what I mean? Like if it was Delvin Cook against the Bills, okay, I could expect something, but like it's not saying or slighting Antonio Gibson, but like it's only Antonio Gibson who hasn't really been wowing anybody this season. So like, I just feel like everybody was so high on, we'll say Najee Harris. Like everybody thought Najee Harris is going to come out, be a running back 1. The volume's going to be great. This guy's amazing. And the Bills came out and he scored 5 points, fantasy points, PPR points against the Bills. Now could have been game script or just like their game plan, possibly. But then you go into week 2 and they face off against Miami and Myles Gaskin. Same story again. You know what I mean? Like Myles Gaskin couldn't get anything going. the defensive line has such a good pressure right now that running backs can't get started. So I'm just not sold on Antonio Gibson this week. That's just I just don't have a feeling that Gibson's going to give you what you want out of him this week. Is what I'm saying. I feel like the ceiling's much higher on a Madison or Tyson Williams and a better matchup. And that's just, it's more of a gut feeling than it is like totally sound, because like Gibson just has the name to be like he should start. But, and it might be to some people like, oh, you're trying to get too cute with it. But I have a bad feeling for anybody who owns, and I own Antonio Gibson in a couple leagues, and I don't know if I can start him. I just doesn't seem safe to me.
Yeah, and
I feel like I could get blanked. Like I feel like he could have like under 8 points. You know what I mean? He could have a Najee Harris performance. He could be down in like the 5-6 point total, you know, like 10, 15 touches for like 40 yards. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I agree, but I mean, also talked about how Baltimore's missing a bunch of defensive linemen, and that could affect how that game script goes for them against Detroit. Maybe they have to throw a little bit more, and it doesn't give Tyson enough volume to outscore a guy like Madison or Gibson. I feel like I'd go Madison here.
Well, yeah, that's where I'm at. I like Madison over Gibson. Like I've mentioned it to a couple people this week. I might be wrong. I mean, I could be, and people could hate me, but
it could come back and burn us if Buffalo does revert back to how they were last year against the run, which isn't entirely out of the question. But until we see that happen, I feel like
the problem is that the Bills were missing so many people last year. They were missing Harrison Phillips. They were missing Star Lotulelei. They were missing Matt Milano for some of the season. Like they just didn't have a full healthy offense or defensive line, and it showed. And right now, their defensive line is crazy. AJ Epineza took a step forward. Like guys got better in the offseason, and Star Lotulelei is making a big effect. Harrison Phillips is back. Ed Oliver's starting to play like how we all expected. You know what I mean? Like this defensive line has just gotten a lot better. And I think it's something that people have to start realizing, that the Bills aren't a great matchup against almost anybody. This defense just seems legit right now. Yeah. And I'm not starting anybody against them if I don't have to. Do you know what I mean? Like Terry McLaurin, I'll probably start him. But like at the running back position, like Antonio Gibson isn't like, oh, wow. You know what I mean? Like I'm rather take that shot at Madison against Seattle, who just doesn't seem as great against running backs. So that's where I'm at.
That's fair.
So Brett, up to you, but I would start Madison over Gibson. That's just where I'm at. I don't know.
Madison also,
it's risky,
Madison
but it's very risky. But I feel like Madison has a better chance of giving you that high upside. I think Gibson has a better chance of busting than Alexander Madison this week specifically. I know it's crazy, and I know I probably sound like a crazy person, but like it just seems right to me.
Well, Madison also does have a lack of competition behind him if Delvin Cook does in fact go. Like Amir Abdullah is not going to be much of anything, I don't think, as opposed to Gibson, who has McKissick, who's proven to be a factor in the passing game, and he was a top 15 back in PPR last year. So, I don't like it. I don't feel great about it seeing Gibson on my bench and Madison in my lineup, but that's probably where I'd lean.
Hopefully it pays off. Brett, let us know how it goes, because I think it's the right play. It's a little bit more gutty than it is like statistically or even namesakes, but I just don't like Gibson this week. Back to quarterbacks, Ryan. Do you think we can agree on one?
I don't know. We'll see.
All right, I'll give you my case. I like Baker this week. They are facing off against the Chicago Bears defense. Not the greatest at the current moment. It is, according to Pro Football Focus, it's the 5th easiest matchup this week. He gets Odell Beckham back. The tight ends have been very involved, so Jarvis Landry being missed doesn't really concern me too much. But I think Baker could be a sneaky start this week to possibly even finish as like a low-end QB1. I just like it. I think that this game kind of gets a little bit out of hand for Cleveland. I think that Chicago can kind of hopefully ride like that high of Justin Fields starting and possibly have a little bit of a back-to-back, back and forth type game script. I can see where it goes that way, but I can also see where it goes like, let's just lean on Nick Chubb. So he's a little bit dicey, but I think it could be a sneaky play. How about you?
I'm not a huge fan of Baker Mayfield this week.
So maybe we're not agreeing.
For my sleeper, I had Kirk Cousins. He's
not a sleeper. People got to start just accepting
ECR,
he's good.
He's at ECR 15.
Well, he should be higher. They should accept it. They should put some respect on it.
That's what I'm saying. He's at ECR 15 right now, and I feel like that's just too low for him. I mean, he's below Derek Carr. He's right above Teddy Bridgewater. He is above Baker Mayfield, but he's technically not a QB1 start for this week or one QB. And I just think that he finishes as a QB1 going against Seattle. I mean, they've been relatively tough against quarterbacks. They've allowed the 12th fewest in the league, but they're also one of only 5 teams in the league to not have an interception yet this year. And if you look at how Cousins actually played in terms of like his advanced stats, his adjusted completion percentage is 86.3 according to Player Profiler, which adjusts for drop passes. And he's thrown for almost 600 yards, 5 touchdowns, and no picks. Over-unders tied for the highest of the week. So it feels like there's going to be a lot of passing in this one, especially with Delvin Cook being out. So I like Cousins this week.
And you didn't have to do much convincing because if you bring up Kirk Cousins, I'm all in on it. So we can agree.
Fair.
Sorry, Baker, but Kirk Cousins is it's time to put some respect on his name to an extent. Just the weapons that he has, and that this offense is just so effective using the play action. I like Kirk Cousins this week as well. So
I posted a thing on Twitter months ago, like pre-draft, pre-everything, saying that just posting some stats about why Cousins was underrated, and I literally got laughed at. Literally laughed at on Twitter, and I was just like, "You mentioned
Kirk Cousins or Derek Carr being good, and they're just like, yeah." And they're like, well, here we are, week 2, when people want Derek Carr and want Kirk Cousins. So, trust me, they're good enough to be fantasy relevant. Let's put it that way.
I mean, granted, they're much. These guys are all outside of Ryan Tannehill. I don't really think anybody was expecting any of these guys to be starting quarterbacks for your fantasy team. I really don't.
These guys, maybe
4 of the 5 guys are probably streaming options. I feel like Tannehill was probably was drafted in a lot of 1 QB leagues. And I don't know about you, Jeremy, but I only draft 1 QB in 1 QB leagues, especially in redraft.
I roster 2, but
I don't roster 2. I just stream where I can. Like I just dropped Joe Burrow to start Daniel Jones this week. So
risky. I mean, maybe in redraft it's not. I don't totally know, but I just 1 QB I always roster 2. I just feel like I want like that second decent option in case my top 1 gets hurt.
Yeah, but even if everybody in your league drafts 2, that means there's 20 QBs drafted. I mean, there's still somebody that's streamable there.
Yeah, I guess. It depends. We'll agree to disagree.
Fair enough.
Marquis Brown, is he playing? I know he's listed as questionable at the moment. I don't know. I don't have any inside information currently. Austin was on with the injury report, says that he thinks that he expects him to be fine and definitely a viable play this week. But keep an eye on it. Just check it. If he does play, I definitely would start him. He's just been too effective not to. Matt has Madison or Hunt in full PPR. And this is interesting because I can see a game script where Cleveland leans on the run game and Chubb and both Hunt have some good groundwork, as well as Hunt seeing some of the passing work with Landry out. But I could also see Demetric Felton kind of getting tossed in there. They kind of like what he has. He brings a different aspect. I think he gets a better bump with Landry out than Hunt does. I don't know how you feel, Ryan. I feel like I'm probably still starting Hunt just based on a talent level. I think Kareem Hunt's much better than Alexander Madison. Madison's going to have more opportunity. Man, I'm really Ryan, go ahead. I'm split here, so I want to see if you can convince me either way.
So I'm going to go with Madison here purely based off of volume. I feel like he's going to see more run than Hunt's going to see. Obviously, they lean on Chubb for most of the early down work. Hunt does get involved in that. But like you said, Deandre Swift is going to get involved. They're going to have manufactured touches for him. We saw it last week after Landry went down where Deandre looked really good and they had touches for him. Now they have a week to prepare a game plan that involves him, and I feel like they do want to get him involved. So I don't think he'll take away too much, but I also feel like it caps Hunt's ceiling even more than it already is capped with Chubb. It's not one of these matchups that it's not one of the rushing matchups that you feel like you can just start both of them and feel really comfortable about it. And with Justin Fields starting for the Bears, it has the potential to be higher scoring than people think. It's only got an over-under of 44.5, and I feel like it has the potential to get higher than that. So if that is the case, they might have to throw a little bit more. And I feel like OBJ being back, Baker force-fed him when he was playing last year. And Deandre Swift, like I said, is going to see manufactured touches. So I would personally go Madison because I feel like he just has less competition around him for touches. I know they have Jefferson. I know they have KJ Osborne and Adam Thielen at wide receiver. But in terms of pure running back competition, Madison's basically the guy there with Cook being out. So that's where I would go. And it's a tough decision for me because I have Hunt in a lot of leagues. But he's on my bench in a lot more leagues than he's in my lineup. So I would go Madison there.
You should become a lawyer, maybe? I don't know. I like it.
It is tough
torn because I can see the script where Hunt sees more work in the second half if Cleveland gets up on.
Here's another thing though. I feel like Madison probably has more upside. I feel like he probably has a higher ceiling, and I feel like Hunt probably has a safer floor because he is so involved with the passing work. But I feel like his ceiling is just capped more with Chubb and Deandre Swift and OBJ being back, and Austin Hooper and David Njoku. Like I feel like they just have so many mouths to feed there that in a game where Madison's going against Seattle, I feel like that's just the better play and higher upside play than chasing the points with Hunt.
Yeah, and I can see that. I could agree with that. I think Madison probably has a higher ceiling. Yeah, I'd say let's go with Madison. I mean, I'm going to start Madison over Gibson, so why not start him over Hunt? Yeah, I think Madison over Hunt. James Robinson or OBJ in full PPR. I'm going to go OBJ here. I feel like Jacksonville's just meh. I don't know what they're doing with the running backs, and I just can't trust James Robinson at the moment. I think OBJ is definitely involved in this game. He's kind of really their only passing option that's cemented. They have a couple, obviously, Donovan Peoples-Jones and Anthony Schwartz, Deandre Swift. Like they have these options, but they're not like cornerstones where OBJ kind of is. So I feel like Odell gets a decent amount of work today. So I'm in on OBJ. I think he has a decent game today. I don't know if it's going to be huge, but I think it's going to be definitely more productive than James Robinson will give you. How about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with OBJ here too, just because, like I said, last year when he was healthy and playing, he got peppered from Baker Mayfield, and that didn't necessarily lead to team success. So maybe they change that up. Maybe they decide that that's not the route that they want to take. But he is rumored, I mean, from what people are saying during the offseason and stuff like that, he looks like he is back to his old self. And if you're looking at just how the Browns operate, I mean, they targeted Jarvis Landry the most, obviously, and he's now out. And it just kind of seems like perfect timing for OBJ to come back. They do have Anthony Schwartz, who's seen 6 targets. And Donovan Peoples-Jones was kind of like an off-season darling for them, but I think OBJ is just too talented, and he's just going to be targeted too often to not start him over James Robinson, who I am not putting in my lineup until I see him do literally anything more than what he's done. So, and until I can trust that offense more. So for me, it's OBJ.
Yeah, I agree. I just feel like OBJ's higher ceiling than James Robinson has this week. So I'm in on him. All right. Running backs, Ryan. Who is one of your top 2 starts this week at running back?
We've already talked about him, but Tyson Williams is up there with the top starts of the week. And I don't know if we have a whole lot of returning listeners, but I always try to go with guys that aren't obvious. I mean, Tyson Williams might be a little bit more obvious, but I think even in shallow leagues, he's worth a start depending on your options. Saw 15 opportunities last week, total 93 yards. Didn't score a touchdown, but he's facing the Lions, who give up the second most points to back so far this season. Ravens are favored by 8, so it should be a positive game script and should see plenty of enough volume to get to an RB2 finish, if not more, depending on how the game script goes.
I like that. For me, we talked about him earlier too. My top go-to right now, at least for this week, is Chase Edmonds. I feel like he's outside of like your top obvious starts. I feel like he's a fair start. Right now, he's running back 18 on the season. But the Jags are 9th worst against running backs, averaging like 29 points to the position in PPR. And this is the 3rd easiest matchup according to Pro Football Focus. So I think Chase Edmonds could be in for a big game against a very influx Jacksonville Jaguars team that might get a lot of points scored on them today by the Arizona Cardinals. So I'm in on Chase Edmonds.
I like that. I was actually kind of surprised though at how well Jacksonville has done against receiving backs. I didn't look and see who they've played, but they've only let up 7 catches to running back so far this year. So I don't know if
one of them was Houston they played, and then they played Denver. 2 teams that don't necessarily target running backs.
Right. So if you're looking at stats like that, I would be. That's one of those things where you have to kind of look and see where or who they've played against, and those 2 teams haven't really factored in their running backs into the passing game. So I do like Chase Edmonds a lot this week, and it should be, like you said, should be positive game script for them. They're gonna score a lot of points today, so I like Edmonds a lot this week. Another guy I like this week is Javonte Williams, and I know we've kind of been on him since the start of the year.
Everybody has to be always in on him. But he's just great.
The time is slowly coming for him. Last week he outpaced Melvin Gordon in total yards on one less opportunity, and even though his snap share dropped, it clearly isn't due to his effectiveness, seeing as how he averaged almost 5 yards per carry as opposed to Gordon's 2.4. Jets have allowed the 5th most points to running backs this season, and as long as Williams can keep up the consistency that he's showing from last week, he definitely should be flex viable, at least with upside for more. And considering the Broncos are favored by 10.5, I like Williams. I like Williams' chances to score his first touchdown this week.
Man, do I hope you are right, because I am all in on Javonte Williams. I have been all season. I like the matchup against the Jets. I think they're in for a big game, so I am all in on that. I could agree. Too bad that's not an agreeable one.
Yeah, there's the other thing too is that the Broncos defense is extremely tough, and Zach Wilson did not look good at all last week. So Denver could end up with a lot of short fields this week, and that might push Williams' ceiling even higher. I know Melvin Gordon's still going to be involved, and he's capping Javonte Williams' ceiling right now. But the moment Melvin Gordon goes down, Javonte Williams' value is going to skyrocket. So if you got a guy in your league that's kind of nervous on Williams, I would try to be acquiring him if you can.
I have been trying, and the one guy keeps holding out. He wants 2 first-round picks, and I'm like in a super flex league, and I'm like,
nope,
you're too rich for my blood still.
Yep.
And he's my friend, so that's why he's just being a dick. One of mine is a sneaky one. He's been kind of bashed on Twitter. I just think it could be a sneaky start this week. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. The Chargers might be missing Joey Bosa. They've been kind of weak against the running backs this year. And it's an argument. It's a tough thing for Clyde just because Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill are so effective, and it's such a big play offense that he is kind of overshadowed. He doesn't really get the touchdowns. But I think he might get one this week. I just kind of like him this week. It's a little bit of a gut feeling, a little bit just sneaky kind of type play. I think he could be in for a big game. I just don't. The Chargers have given up 29 points to the running back position each week. So I'm kind of in on it. I don't know if it's going to be great. I think it's an RB2 performance, but I just think as maybe a flex play / RB2, I'm in on Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
If it makes you feel any better, the Chargers did promote a defensive end from their practice squad.
Yeah, I think
so. It looks like Joey Bosa might not go. So that definitely helps CH's cause. I feel like he's just too talented not to get it going, and this offense is just too good to not be involved. Like,
I wish he was involved more in the passing game. That's all.
Well, that's the thing. He was so good at LSU out of the backfield catching the ball, and they just haven't really used him for whatever reason. I'm not really sure why, but I feel like it's got to change eventually.
Right. So Patrick has a question. He says he needs to sit one: OBJ, Madison, or Tyson Williams.
OBJ.
For me, yeah. Depending on the format, yeah, I kind of think I'd sit OBJ. I like Madison against Seattle, and like we've mentioned all show, and then Tyson Williams, I think against Detroit could have a big game. So I'm just torn. I can also see where, yeah, that's probably where I am. I'd probably sit OBJ. Just
in a situation like that, I'm sitting OBJ just because you don't know what he's going to look like. Like he's got the upside. He has the ceiling to make us look foolish for telling people to sit him. But Madison and Tyson Williams, Madison's has a guaranteed workload, and Tyson Williams has been fantastic to start the year in a run-first offense. So I feel like you just kind of have to wait and see with OBJ in that situation.
Yeah. So I like it. I'd probably say OBJ. All right, Ryan, do you think we can agree on a running back?
I don't know. Depends on how you feel about my guy.
I'll let you lead off.
No, you go first. I insist.
I kind of like Kenyon Drake this week. Jacobs most likely is not playing. I mean, Peyton Barber's kind of going to be involved, and it kind of makes it sticky. But I feel like last week the Bills had a pretty decent run with Devin Singletary against Miami, and I feel like Kenyon Drake could be like a sneaky play this week to get RB2 numbers against a defense that's not super great against running backs. So there's not too much behind it. I just feel like that Drake might be a little bit more involved. I think they could get up on Miami, and they might lean a little bit on the run, in turn being Kenyon Drake. I don't know how you feel about that. Probably not.
I honestly don't. I'm trying to look for where he's at. I mean, ECR's got him as a RB3.
So yeah, I think he could get to 2. I think he could do it. I think it could be the week. I think he maybe gets a touchdown.
Yeah, but do you feel like he's going to be? I mean, he's seen 10 targets, so in PPR he's probably flex viable at the very least. With Jacobs being out, he's listed as doubtful. He's probably going to be out. But he ran 7 times for 9 yards last week, so he seems like he has a pretty safe floor. I just don't know if he has the ceiling to get to RB2. but that's just how I'm looking at it. I couldn't remember exactly how he was last week, but just looking at it now, 7 rushes for 9 yards is not good. So, like I said, his floor is safe, but I feel like my guy is kind of in that same boat, to be honest with you. And I got Kenny Gainwell, and I know he was let down last week, but I really like Gainwell in the spot that he's got this week. Dallas has given up the 8th fewest rushing yards to backs this season, but they've seen the 3rd most targets and 5th most receptions running back so far. Gainwell's touching the ball on 48% of his snaps, which is highest on the team among all skill positions, and he's seen right around double-digit opportunities each week to start the year. Has rendered Boston Scott literally useless. Hasn't even seen a touch yet. If he's even seen a snap. Cowboys are favored in this one, with one of the higher over-unders for the week on Monday night. So if you're in a deeper league, I think Gainwell is a guy that you can possibly plug in, only in PPR, though, not in standard or anything like that.
That's sneaky. That's very, very sneaky.
I just feel like with how they've been against the run, like I was kind of surprised to see that they're so good against the run. I mean, 8th fewest rushing yards in the league, but they, like I said, they're getting up at the 3rd most targets and 5th most receptions running back so far this year. So it seems like that might be a route that they want to go. I could be wrong. He could put up another dud and he could be useless, but just with a game that should be high scoring and divisional game where it's going to be a close competitive game, I feel like he's a guy that could be a sneaky plug into your lineup.
I like that. I'm in on Gainwell. I think he's a flex only option, especially in PPR leagues.
Yeah.
I'll give it to you. I'll let you.
I honestly don't even know if you can start him in standard leagues because
start in a standard league.
Just because you don't know if he's going to score a touchdown. But
it's standard is too good to start him as a in a standard league, but as a flex play in a PPR league, I'm in on Kenny Gainwell. So I'll let you win this one again because I'm just nice like that.
That's fair. I was going to win regardless, but that's fine.
Yeah, sure you were. Let's go with wide receivers, Ryan. I'm going to actually lead off because I want to lead off for once in my life.
Do you want to do running back sits?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Forget running backs. They're bad.
Fair enough.
I won't start any of them. It's a joke. But no. I want to do starts before we do sits because I want to talk about Marquis Brown. Pretty much a top 10 wide receiver right now. He's wide receiver 8, averaging 21 points in PPR leagues. So for me, they don't have Jeff Okudah in the back end in Detroit. They're also hurting. I believe a couple other cornerbacks are injured. So right now they're giving up 38.8 PPR points per game to wide receivers. So if Marquis Brown plays, Austin Williams earlier on the show gave me a little bit extra oomph behind it too, that he thinks that the ankle isn't going to be too big of an injury. So I'm in on Marquis Brown. I think he's in for a big game this week. Could possibly put up again another his average 20-point game, get a touchdown. So I'm in. I think Marquis Brown should be in your starting lineup this week.
Yeah, I like Marquis Brown a lot this week too. Wide receiver 8 right now in PPR. Averages over 7 yards per target since week 12 of last season, and now scored 8 touchdowns in that span. So he's averaging a touchdown a game. And like you said, they already lost Jeff Okudah, and then they lost a guy that I can't pronounce his name, but another corner that they had starting to a quadriceps injury last week. So that's a matchup that I am going to look to exploit wherever I can for the most part. But my guy is a guy that we mentioned, that Austin actually mentioned, and that's Sterling Shepard. And Shepard's been fantastic for New York to start the year. Currently wide receiver 14 in standard, wide receiver 9 in PPR. Saw at least 9 targets in both games and is averaging over 100 yards per game. He's got the same amount of targets as Tyreek Hill, more than Chris Godwin or Terry McLaurin. And since week 7 of last year, Shepard's now averaging over 8 targets per game and going against Atlanta defense that's bottom 12 to wide receivers of fantasy points per game. and giving up over 11.5 yards per reception. I think Shepard is a guy that needs to be in your lineups regardless of league size.
Yeah, I like that. He's been sneaky all year. He kind of was overlooked with the additions to the offense, but he's proven that he's the go-to guy for Daniel Jones. So I do like that play as far as starting Sterling Shepard. I feel like he's like nobody really wants to start him. But if you
he's not a sexy name to have in your lineup.
Yeah, if you do start him, I definitely think he could win you your matchup this week. I do like it. For me, my second one is actually a guy who we kind of like hit on earlier, that I kind of like got turned off from a touch just because we think that Carson Wentz is going to have a struggle stretching the field. But I still like Michael Pittman. He came out, he put up a real big game against the Rams last week. And I mean, 21.3 points against a team that we were sitting Michael Pittman on. So I think he's just proven that he's kind of taken that step forward. He seems like a good target for Carson Wentz, and Wentz is expected to play. So I am in on starting Michael Pittman again. I know that we had mentioned that his downfield game might not be great from Carson Wentz, but I think Michael Pittman still can have a touchdown, possibly see some of that intermediate stuff, and Wentz might be able to stretch the field enough to kind of make him viable this week.
Does having Paris Campbell be inactive change your thoughts on him at all?
Being active, you said?
Yeah, Paris Campbell's active.
Not really. I mean, we saw it in week one. I mean,
I was just curious.
Not really. I mean, I like Paris Campbell. I have a lot of Paris Campbell. I just think that like Michael Pittman's kind of like taking that step as the lead guy. And I just like the matchup against Tennessee. They're just very bad against wide receivers. So it's too much of a juicy matchup for me to avoid starting Michael Pittman.
Yeah. The only reason why I asked is because when both of them were active, they both Paris Campbell only saw 3 targets and Pittman saw 4 in week 1. So I wasn't sure if that would alter your take on it at all.
Nah, still Michael Pittman.
Okay. My second guy is somebody that a lot of people are down on right now. And I feel like this is kind of a get-right game for him, and that's Robert Woods. I know Cooper Kupp has been fantastic. I think he's going to stay being fantastic, and you're obviously starting him. But I think Woods is just too good of a receiver to not start getting it together sooner than later. Woods played 98% of snaps last week after playing only a 77% snap share in week 1. And only saw 2 less targets than Kupp for 64 yards last week. Rams total receivers at the 3rd highest rate in the league, and Tampa is giving up the 2nd most points to wide receivers so far this year, and the 3rd most touchdowns of the position. So in a game that's expected to be one of the higher scorings of the week, their over-under, like I said, I think is the same as the Seattle-Minnesota game, which is like 55.5. I like Woods' outlook for this one, especially with Henderson being out this week and the issues Tampa's had controlling wide receivers to start the year.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I'm all in. I liked Robert Woods all off season. I thought he was going to be the guy instead of Cooper Kupp. It turned out to be Cooper Kupp so far early on in the season. But Robert Woods definitely could be a good start this week. I think that this game turns into could surprise us and be a little bit defensive. But without Darrell Henderson, they're definitely going to lean on the passing game. I know Sony Michel's there, but I like Robert Woods this week as well. So should have did that as our
he's not a sleeper though. He's not a sleeper.
He's pretty sleeper. Everybody hates him right now. So
can't hate Bobby Trees.
Maybe they do. Who knows? All right. I got a sleeper for you. I don't know if he can be a sleeper, but Tyler Boyd, could you consider him a sleeper? I don't know. I just feel like with T. Higgins out, I think that he could see some run this week. I think you're going to have obviously Jamar Chase still involved, but Tyler Boyd, I think you kind of see maybe we get a week, like a 20-point week like we have in the past, possibly gets a touchdown. I think that game gets a little out of hand for both teams. I think they both tend to lean on the passing game a little bit in this game. So I think Tyler Boyd could be sneaky start. Definitely a wide receiver 2 upside for me.
I like Tyler Boyd this week with Higgins being out. The only thing that I don't like is just how low the point total is. Like I don't know if there's gonna be enough points to go around. Joe Mixon's had a ton of volume to start the year so far. Jamar Chase is obviously involved there. So that's the only thing that is kind of concerning to me. But Tyler Boyd's super talented. A guy that a lot of people thought was the safest floor of the 3 wide receivers that they have there now. So I don't mind Tyler Boyd at all this week. He's probably a better play than the guy that I have, which kind of ties into my sleeper quarterback, which is KJ Osborne. He was a waiver wire ad for us after week 1, and hopefully people listened and profited from it because he's got back-to-back weeks with at least 5 catches, including last week where he had 5 catches for 91 yards and a touchdown. Currently leads the team in receiving yards, and even though I don't expect that to be the case come the end of the year, I think he's proven that he deserves to be an integral part of this offense and what should be a high-scoring game against Seattle. He is a guy that I want to start if I can, if I don't have any better options.
I can't put him up here because I didn't make a card for KJ Osborne because I didn't think that's where you were going.
I told you last week.
Did you?
I did.
It must have slipped my mind. I apologize.
And I think I told you on Tuesday too.
Really?
I'm pretty sure.
Shows you what I remember.
You can put Tyler Boyd up there.
No, we'll leave Kenny Gainwell. He can be our sleeper wide receiver.
Put Cordell Patterson.
No,
There's two. He's got dual eligibility.
I like KJ Osborne as well. I think if Delvin Cook is out, you could see a little bit more passing. So I think I like that as a sneaky play. It's definitely probably more of a sleeper than Tyler Boyd. So again, I'll lose.
So I don't know if you're paying attention to the actives and inactives. Carson Wentz, DeAndre Hopkins, Joey Bosa, Chris Jones, Deandre Swift are all active. Trent Brown, T. Higgins, Frank Clark, Trey Flowers, Trey Waynes, Marlon Mack, CJ Henderson, Anthony Ferkser, and Tayshaun Gibson are all inactive. OBJ is officially active. Trey Sermon is projected to get the full workload on Sunday night. See updates that we've gotten so far that I haven't seen yet.
Interesting. I like Hopkins even more with Henderson out.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
I think we're going to cut this one a little short today. Ryan, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you and then let them know what you have going on.
Yeah, find me on Twitter at Mackie_FFB. You can find sleeper articles from Yards Per coming on a weekly basis there, starting Sermon this week. I like it depending on your other options. I like it. Just depends on what your other options are. Yeah, you can find some of my stuff over at Yards Per. Put out a rookie landscape article last week for FF League winners, so you can go check that out. I will be producing more content for both of them here shortly. Just been kind of crazy, the household lately. So other than that, hope you guys like what you heard. Hopefully we can help you guys win some of your matchups this week. And best of luck. And we'll see you on Tuesday.
Agreed. Hopefully we hit pretty good on what we have for you guys this week. If you want up to kickoff, I'm sure Ryan the same. Reach out on Twitter. Ryan's is at Mackie_FFB. You can probably ask him some questions. He'll answer you. Same thing with me at PopesFFH. Feel free to reach out on Twitter. And I'll be answering start-state questions till 1:00 kickoff. So feel free. And then, like we'd said,